Commissioners, we have the stream live just for those for the public to chime in while we wait for the other two commissioners.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. In about 2 minutes, we'll start, and then when Daphne comes, we can go ahead and move with the quorum.
Hello,
Sounds
Dr.
good.
Jack.
Sorry, Commissioner. Meg, what was that?
I was just saying hi to Dr. Jack.
Oh, yes. You wanted to say hi earlier.
Oh, hello. How you doing?
Good.
All right.
You're not in your scrubs today, huh?
No, not today. Today. Trying to go incognito under the radar. It's not possible.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. It is currently 12:31, and we'll call the meeting of the Ethics Commission to order. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director, Mr. Nico Fujikawa.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'll just do a quick roll call for the members. Present, Chairwoman Daphne Leon Guerrero. I believe she's on her way. Vice Chair Dr. Robert Jack.
Present.
Commissioner Christopher Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Margaret Taikenko.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, we do not have a quorum, but we can proceed if you will.
Yes, let's proceed.
So the first order would be the approval of minutes. Oh. Commissioners, since we don't have the quorum, we'll skip approval of minutes for now and the new business, if you don't mind. With your permission, I'll go into the executive director's report. Oh. I take it back. We have a quorum. Chairwoman Daphne Algro just arrived.
Hello. How you doing?
No worries. We just started now, so. Our vice chair called the meeting to order at 12:31. And then you can call for the approval of minutes.
Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and call for the approval of minutes from January 27th,
Yep, I'm motion we approve.
2026. Sorry.
Motion we approve the minute.
Oh, you already did?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, since you're calling for the approval, I have a motion to
Okay.
approve it.
So motion for approval from Dr. Jack. Do I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Meeting minutes approved. And let's move on to the executive director's report. I will pass it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just for those watching, this regular meeting, in accordance with the open government law, was published in the PDN as well as the Government of Guam portal on Wednesday, March 18, and again on Monday, March 23rd, in accordance with open government. So with that, Madam Chair, I will go into the Executive Director's report. A lot of exciting things to report about in today's meeting, and I appreciate everyone's time, especially for the community for waiting a little bit. It is always a struggle to get our commissioners who are also working separate jobs to attend, so we appreciate their public service. Just some operational updates to the commissioners. As of March 25th, as of today, we have provided trainings for our government ethics and government program to over 600 Government of Guam employees for the fiscal year 26 alone. You'll see a breakdown there with 23% in person and 77% actually online. So these are good statistics for us to understand where the demand is, where the convenience is, and we also know where to focus on when we start enhancing these trainings. But because the ethics training really kicked off in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to see a huge influx of renewals, and a lot of the government employees have to retake because their 4 years are up. So these are refresher courses, and we're going to see that number spike as we go into the fiscal year. In addition, we have been receiving feedback for more specialized trainings, ethics in accounting, in HR, customer service, even ethics in directors and management. So this is something that the team and I are looking at with our rebranding and making sure that we can start creating a little more digestible workshops for these specific sectors within the government. We have been receiving that from multiple agencies that have been calling, asking for more specialized training. And again, this aligns with the strategic plan that we did want to start looking into. How can we provide effective training for those in accounting versus HR who may not see the same ethics issues? So instead of having the broad general training for all employees, we do want to start adding more value to them. And perhaps this is more staggered. Instead of waiting 4 years, we could do it every year, every 2 years for these specialized trainings. So, I mean, it's nice that our strategic plan is aligning with the community requests and demands. Here's a little table, a little chart for everyone to see. Since the commission started, we went all the way back, and it looks like trainings have been done, even with the previous team, for over 13,000 Government of Guam employees. Of course, some have come and gone, but that's a very interesting number, an average of about 1,600 per year, right? Just in terms of volume or demand for these trainings. Okay, and then as of today as well, we've received only about 21 out of the 65 government agencies for the compliance reports. So we continue to try and follow up with them to make sure that everybody is in compliance. As far as our complaints and investigations, as well as advisory opinions, we are still fielding both, and we do have some on the agenda today. However, because of the 5 commissioner requirement, we will have to table, but I do have an update on that as well. So on a commission update, on February 12th, 2026, thank you to our Madam Chair for attending the public hearing. But the Committee on Finance and Government Operations held a public hearing for the appointment of Ms. Genevieve Rapatis, or Attorney Rapatis, to the Board of Commissioners for the Guam Ethics Commission. This is exciting for us because it's our 5th commissioner, and as you all know, we've been in need of additional commissioners. So she is actually pending a vote and confirmation on the floor right now with the legislature. Session began on Monday, and her name was already read into the file. So it's just a matter of voting, which I believe they will take later this week. So that's excellent news for us, at least for the 5th member to join on board. Some legislative and policy developments. This is the one that I think would be very exciting, and I did want to throw it out for some discussion with you all today. But Bill 21438, relative to strengthening the independence and effectiveness of the Guam Ethics Commission, was introduced on the floor as of Monday as well. As of yesterday, the senators were continuing to deliberate and discuss the makeup of the board. I think there was a lot of contention about how this board was made up, and we didn't actually give an official position because there's so many ideas on what the best type of board would be. And so they actually voted to move it into the third reading file for voting into law, and it failed yesterday. It passed this morning. So they reconsidered again this morning, and that's excellent news because now it's in the third reading file. So we're up for voting hopefully by tomorrow or the end of this week. And you can see a little breakdown on this chart of what this bill actually does. The two biggest things that I did want to at least highlight first, you turn the page there, were the quorum requirement. Right now, our quorum of 4, which we have today, is only for administrative purposes. We do need a quorum of 5 or more to a super quorum to issue complaints, investigations, decisions, etc. The quorum in the new bill will keep it to the 4. So it's consistent across the board, which I think would be very helpful in staying effective. There was some contention about the stipend for commissioners. The new bill says no stipend involved. The previous had $50, and some of the senators were going back and forth on that. If the commissioners had a comment on that, I know a lot of you say sometimes we don't even realize it into the account, but I think if you wanted to provide some feedback or a stance that I can communicate with the senators, that'd be great.
I mean, personally, I also side with the rest of the commissioners. We don't necessarily serve for the stipend. And usually it's an afterthought. It's like, oh, nice, let's deposit it into the account. So I wasn't really concerned when there was a no stipend provision in the bill. My question, I guess, would be how that is that equitable in terms of other commissions and boards? Are there stipends provided for all of them? Are we the only ones that don't?
I don't mean to interrupt, Madam Chair, but if we could just disable the blur background, it's cutting you off at least visually, and I don't know how that's going to work in for our live stream and all that, but it just looks weird. If we could just disable the blur. Sorry
No
about
worries.
that.
Let me see if I can. There we go. Let's try
There
that.
you go.
Oh, I see. And so I guess I'd just open it up to the rest of the commissioners if that is a thing. But my question would be, how equitable is that in terms of other boards and commissions?
Yeah, that was the one thing I guess that I just was thinking about was exactly that, Madam Chair, was just how that kind of lines up with other boards and commissions. I know that there was a brief discussion sometime back, and I think that if I recall correctly, our $50 was a bit on the low side compared to what other boards and commissions had. I don't know though, right? I can't confirm that, but I remember a discussion with our previous director on that. So again, you're right. At least for me, we're not serving for that particular purpose, right? So I'm I'll just stay in my lane there. But yeah, I think as long as things seem pretty fair,
Yeah.
then I'm okay with whatever the legislature decides on. I'm hoping they keep at least something, and not kind of take it away, for example. So that's that for me.
Thanks.
You can just.
Thanks, Commissioner.
I
Any
would probably say,
Mike or Dr. Jack?
I'm going to say the same thing. It's like whatever is the norm, whatever is happening on other boards, we just stay into that alignment. And, I have to say, I don't remember the last time a deposit was made into my account because I have it direct. I haven't noticed it. And I know I don't fill out the forms that it's done through the executive director. So I don't remember the last time that was. So it's not a priority, but it's there and it's not bad to be paid for some of your time, even though it's minor, it's fine.
Well, anything to save Guam some money. We'll be saving them $3,000 a year.
Very true. So I think,
No, I'm in agreement with everyone. Obviously, let's make it fair across the board. If no other commissioners are being paid, then I'm good with it. If they're being paid, I want to have.
right, only what's equitable
Yeah.
in terms of what other boards and commissions are receiving.
Was there a reason for them to just say stipend?
You know,
Who's pushing that?
I think, I'm not sure what the rationale was
Yeah,
there.
I'm just curious.
But they did kind of throw it in, and the only thing I could think of, and this was just speculation, 'cause I didn't have a discussion on it. But I think they were trying to show that the commissioners had no skin in the game or no kind of incentive, like a gift.
Right,
But again, it is fair compensation. I agree with the board, and unfortunately, I do apologize when they requested for testimony.
Mhm.
We weren't able to pull a board meeting to discuss some of these
Right.
things. And so we didn't even know when this was going to go to the floor.
Right.
But now that we have that it is on the floor, we can have at least a discussion on our position. I think what would help is we are also looking, and I've expressed this to multiple senators, that we are looking at sweeping legislation that addresses a lot of the long concerns of the gaps in our current law. And so perhaps even if this law goes through, we can still make amends and correct it that say, hey, the commissioners have an official stance that this is how they will serve, and fair compensation, equitable to other boards that do similar roles, I think could be our official position.
Right.
I think right now, a lot of the objections on the floor is some senators have rose and said, we should keep it fair and equitable, which is great. But then they're also objecting that we shouldn't be telling the governor what agencies should be on the board. And so, there's semantics in some of these things. But the good news with this particular law, if we look further down into that chart, is really that administrative penalties. The teeth that
Yes.
this commission has been asking for is now up for vote. And that's up to $5,000 per violation.
Mhm.
So this is the much needed enhancements
Right.
to give us the effectiveness of passing decisions or issuing resolutions of charges.
Mhm.
Right. I think once that goes through, because the fine itself is not insignificant.
Right,
Right. And these are personal fines to any violator in the government of Guam,
Mm.
which I think is what would raise the eyebrows, as it should.
yes,
So that I think, and I expressed this to some of the senators saying, what's your opinion? What's your stance on this? I said, I'm meeting with the commissioners today, and I'll update them and get their official stance on it. That way we can write testimony if need be. But I do think if we as a body kind of put in our thoughts into that sweeping legislation, we
Right.
get it done in one shot.
Yeah.
That this is a full representation of our position when it comes to administration, when it comes to voting, quorum, etc.
I agree. I think for me, the most important things here are the quorum change from 5 to 4 and also the administrative penalties. I wouldn't want to get hung up on a stipend. That is the least of my concerns. $50 is not enough to sway or dissuade me from, serving on the commission. These are the two biggest pieces in this legislation that are important.
And
To me.
based on that, at least the feedback I got from several senators is they're all in full support of that.
Okay.
I think the unfortunate part is they are arguing over the stipend or how the board should be made up.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, in this bill, it is not restrictive to our board makeup. It still gives the power to the governor to appoint. And I believe Senator Gumatautel, the author of the bill, stated certain agencies, right? The Bar Association, SHRM, AGA, and Guam Chamber as recommendations. It wasn't a binding limit to who should sit on the board.
Yeah.
And I do think some senators may be reading into that and saying, oh, it is binding. So that's where some of the contention was, the objection to it. But for the most part, like I mentioned to them, the quorum and the penalties give us that effectiveness and the efficiency to get things done quicker. So,
Agreed.
and that's up for voting, which is great news. We're still moving along in in our timeline. Okay. And then again, we are still working with her legal counsel. She did mention that she's about 80% done. She's going back and forth and going through every single piece of law because the sweeping legislation that I've asked for would enhance the entire chapter. So it would remove chapter 15 of Title 4 and introduce a new chapter 15.
Okay.
And that's what will kind of address a lot of that. Moving down into the budget, I did want to give everyone an update on our budget because this year we had more funding than we did in previous years. If you see on that first chart there, that was our official appropriation for FY26. That's the 552,680. And then right next to it was the continuing appropriation that we received from the legislature, and that was a total of 193,311.47. Now, this is important because there is a motion that I would ask or bring to the commissioners to consider, and that's the funding of the trust meter, which we'll get into. And so what that number pulls from would be from the available funds there. The 156,000 under the contracts of our general fund. That's where we would pull for this particular project. I do apologize for the size. It looks better on computer. Okay. Any questions on the budget side that I can answer? So our encumbrances are just everything that we've allocated, we've locked in for certain
For the year,
contracts,
right?
yeah, for the year. And then what we've actually expended as of.
So far, okay. No questions on my end.
And then the most exciting thing for today is our procurement. Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Tekenko, you guys can hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
So just an update on the GCOM RFP 2026-001. On February 2nd, we officially launched the RFP for research services for the development of the Guam Ethics Commission Trust Meter. In our January meeting, this body did give me approval to move forward with that RFP. So we did immediately after. We received questions from potential vendors on February 10th and provided our official responses by February 13th. To all registered parties in accordance with our RFP rules. We closed that RFP at 4 p.m. on March 5th, so just earlier this month, and we had 2 qualified offers submitting proposals. On March 11th, an evaluation committee, which consisted of 2 of the Ethics Commission staff, as well as our chairwoman, commissioner, reviewed and provided their selection of the highest rated offer to myself for review. On March 16, a notice of intent to award was sent to our highest rated offer, and a notice of non-selection was also sent to the other proposer. We are still working with them, and a cost proposal for the services has been submitted to us for review.
Okay.
And so that kind of leads me into the motion today. Is I would be requesting for this body to grant me approval to enter into negotiations with this highest qualified offer. And if we're successful, we can go ahead and move forward to contract.
Okay.
Thank you. And that's all from my executive director's report.
Okay, great. Thank you, Edie.
So
Do we
moved.
move into closed proceeding?
No, so for our closed proceedings, we want to leave it on the agenda for action. But we hopefully can wait for our 5th
Yes.
commissioner to move forward on it. So.
Okay, so we'll table closed
table this.
proceedings for now.
Correct.
And move directly into new business. And that is with the RFP, giving you authorization to enter into the contract. Do we have any other questions before we move in?
Sorry, I understood. I thought I heard the director say that he could enter into negotiations, or are we? Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. We've already selected, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Vendor. Okay. All right. Okay. My misunderstanding.
No problem. And so the evaluation committee provided their recommendation. And so we wanted to see if the company was still even interested before bringing it to the body, before this board, in order to allow for that procurement to move through.
And we are, right?
So they've submitted a cost proposal, but I still need approval in order to negotiate. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There you go. All right. So moved.
Okay. First motion.
I'll second it.
And, okay, second by Commissioner Meg. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries, and we then now authorize our executive director to enter into the contract with the highest qualified bidder for the research services and the development of the Guam Ethics Commission Trust Meter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Job
Thank you, commissioners. I
Thank
did
you.
want to just, if I could
Yes.
add a little more to that. Sorry, let me turn the camera. So, um, Commissioner Cruz, yes, motion. And then Commissioner May, yes. So just a quick update. We had two very qualified offers submit, and based on the recommendation, they were giving a cost proposal well within budget. And so I wanted to bring to the board first, without disclosing any amounts yet, until we finalize, and that way at the next meeting I can update. However, part of the RFP was that they are to work with us to produce this trust meter before the end of this fiscal year. So in the coming months, and the firm or the company already knows that expectation. And so I think it's going to be very exciting if we have this new bill that's about to be voted on today or later this week, as well as us being able to contract and reach out. So it's all kind of falling in place. It's taking some time, but it is moving in the proper direction, I feel. And I do appreciate the commissioner's support and consent on this. Thank you.
Great. Okay, that was it for new business. Do we have any announcements? No announcements? Okay, so then I will move into adjournment. So I'll call this meeting for adjournment at 12:55. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
A second.
Okay, all right. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 12:55 p.m. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, commissioners.
Everybody.
Bye.
All right.